In this short video, we are going to take a look at the terrain of the land of Israel, which is a very interesting subject. And once you get a feel for the terrain, you can understand the land so much better.
And at this point, I just want to look at some features of the land itself, and this is where you're going to probably want your maps, because repetition is the key to all of this, and we're going to be, this is the Get Acquainted meeting here today, but we're going to be looking at all of these things over and over the next many weeks. And we want to get the big picture. And if you want to look at that completely blank map that we showed where we set our baseline earlier, we're going to look at 5 areas on this map that are very distinctive. They all run north and south, but these areas really define the terrain of Israel. And you see that relief there. But if you look at this little guide, we're just going to start at the top. The coastal plain is that area that's right there on the Mediterranean. It's just very flat and easy to traverse. It's a major road went through there in ancient days. We'll look at that in a minute, right there. And see, like I say, it's easily traveled. It goes all the way down to Egypt. It goes all the way back over into Assyria. And that's the coastal plain. At the top up there, you see that little thumb that sticks out. That's Haifa today, and Mount Carmel is right behind it. The next area are those lower lying hills between the plain and the mountaintops, and that's known as the Shephelah. And it's an area, this middle area between the tops and the plain, and it's translated vale in the King James. So just about any time you read vale, there's another word that's used for vale, but it's mostly Shephelah. And that's what it's talking about, this area here. And a lot of significant events take place in the Shephelah, including David and Goliath we just looked at there. That's where that was, in the lower area below the peaks. And many events in Samson's life takes place here. And then the next feature you see is the Central Range. This range of mountains, it runs almost from Lebanon, does run from Lebanon, all the way down to the Negev Desert, with very few breaks. And again, significant. Jerusalem's on the top of that, and Bethlehem, and a lot of other major cities. And then next to that is the Jordan Rift Valley. It drops precipitously from the mountain peaks just very quickly, almost straight down, you feel like. And it's 1,400 feet below sea level at the Dead Sea, about 800 feet below sea level at the Sea of Galilee. And then just east of that is the Jordanian highlands that go back up to about 3,000 feet. That rift is very deep. And that's right there at the Jordan Rift Valley. And the other side there is in the country of Jordan today. But we're going to learn a lot about that side, as that's where Ammon, Moab, Edom, and Midian all are. So if you sliced Israel and looked at it in profile, you have this little chart with you too. And you can see how it's just exactly what we just looked at. You see over here on the bottom, at that bottom line, the coastal plain, then the Shephelah, the mountains. The Judean wilderness is on the backside of that. It's a total desert as you come down from Jerusalem, down to Jericho and the Rift Valley, and then back up to Jordan and Mount Nebo, where Moses was buried. And there are many ancient roads that run through this area as well. And they come up in Scripture frequently. On the coastal plain is the Way of the Sea. It runs right down that area there. I'm very sure that that's the way that Joseph, when he was sold by his brothers, they would have taken him down the Way of the Sea, going to Egypt, because he was right over there at Dothan, which is not too far from that. And then the central road is known as the Way of the Patriarchs. That would have been the road that Abraham would have taken coming into the land, because the first place he went was Shechem, and that's right there on that road. And then the easternmost road is the Way of the Kings. And that would have been the route that the Israelites would have passed along or passed near. You know, many of the countries wouldn't let them take the easy road. And so, but anyway, that's the Way of the Kings that goes up the east side in Jordan there. Now, if you will, get this map, and you can have it in your hand. I'm going to have some illustrations on the screen, but we're just going to start at the north And again, this is the Get Acquainted section, so we're just going to kind of look at these places for the first time. They'll be coming up a lot more as we go through this. And starting with Mount Hermon, which is all the way up at the very top of the page. Mount Hermon is located today. Most of it is outside of Israel's border in Lebanon. The peak of that is around 9,200 feet, but part of the mountain is within Israel's borders. And you can see how snow-covered it is. There's a ski resort at 6,000 feet. That's where this video was shot. And they're enjoying themselves out skiing here when Israel's Iron Dome defense knocked out a couple of Iranian missiles in 2019. Next on your map, you will see the Hula Valley. And you can, let's see, what have I got up there? Yeah, that's Google Earth. But you see this beautiful valley right there under Mount Hermon. And that high area to the right is the Golan Heights, extreme right. But that's the backside of Syria, so they got Lebanon and Syria right there, joining together right at their northernmost point. And you can see how beautiful this valley is. All this rain's coming down from off the mountains there. And they have to very carefully protect the Golan Heights because their enemies could poison their water supply and every other thing. The Golan Heights is this area that's between Jordan and Israel and Syria right there. And this area was taken from Syria during the Six-Day War in 1967. Still a disputed area today, though it is controlled by Israel, again, because of that high ground and what tremendous strategic potential that has for Israel's enemies. And the nations of the world and the UN maintain that this is still Syria's territory. Donald Trump was the first president to say that this area belongs to Israel. And a lot of people in Israel love Donald Trump. And when Trump was president, they were minting coins over there that had Trump's image on it and King Cyrus, who originally sent the Jews back from Babylon. And so there are many people over there that love America, not all. But the Valley of Jezreel, it's just below and to the left of the Sea of Galilee. Nazareth is on the north side of that valley, beautiful valley, the Valley of Jezreel. Megiddo is on the south. We're going to spend a good bit of time on the Valley of Jezreel. It's the Valley of Armageddon. Mount Carmel, the next point coming down your map. Again, it's overlooking Jezreel and the city of Megiddo. This is where Elijah challenged the false prophets of Baal, of course. On the Mediterranean coastline is this plain of Sharon, which we mentioned just a minute ago, often referenced for its loveliness. Isaiah 35:2 says of it, "It shall blossom abundantly and rejoice, even with joy and singing. The glory of Lebanon shall be given unto it, the excellency of Carmel and Sharon." In the Jordan Rift Valley, if you go back over there, which flows down from the Jordan River flows down from the Sea of Galilee down to the Dead Sea. And again, we mentioned that they're 800 and 1,400 feet below sea level, respectively. You can see Shiloh and Bethel that are right there along the ridge. I've just kind of pointed out the general area where they are. Many major cities are along this ridge, and we're going to look at in depth on those. Jericho is at the base of the mountains, down at the bottom of the Jordan Rift Valley. In this map, you can really see the dramatic change from that peak very quickly down to Jericho. Jericho is only 18 miles from Jerusalem, but it drops from 2,500 feet down to 800 below. At the lower part of this coast, you see Philistia, or the area that included the 5 major cities of the Philistines. And we're going to learn those cities before we're done here. So you know that when they're mentioned, you're talking about Philistine country. That's Gaza, which is where the action's going on today, is still called Gaza. Here, these many thousands years later, Gath, which is where Goliath was from, Ekron, Ashdod, and Ashkelon. That's Philistia, those cities down here on the coastal plain. You can see Beersheba here down at the very tip, the bottom of the map. This is just before you go out into the desert. And down to the right there, you see the Arava. And it continues on down, that's the rift continuing on down to the Dead Sea. But they're growing a lot of agriculture in the Arabah today, even though it's desert. But that's just a very quick tour of about 18 places. It should help you begin to get a sense of things if you didn't know where all of those were before. And we're going to cover them again much more, just mentioning them today.